Grateful Gang. It's Lauren here, the Gratitude Addict. Welcome to episode 81 of Gratefully Living the Chronic Life. I come to you each week at this time, Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And we have usually a very, I'm having trouble with, oh, nope, it's back. Sorry. Have wonderful live viewers, and it's an interactive broadcast. So we highly encourage people to share your thoughts, your comments. I've got a great guest this week. Been blessed to have so many great guests. Tonight I have Lauren Fonvielle, who is a EFT and energy practitioner, integrative energy practitioner. She's going to talk about finding your emotional freedom. She has got such amazing things to share with us. So I'm grateful to have her. But each week I come to you at this time, usually to talk about something relating to gratitude, living our best lives by using the power of gratitude. And I wear a new shirt each week. Now, I know, happy St. Patrick's Day, by the way. I know I should be wearing green. However, I noticed something major this morning, which is I do not own a green gratitude t-shirt. And I own, those of you that watch every week know that I have tons and tons of gratitude shirts, but green's just not my color. So I could get a green gratitude shirt, but to wear it once a year, I don't know. It's just not my color. So today's gratitude is the new black. I wanted to thank last week's guest, Sharon Sarago Walters. She was talking about boosting your gratitude practice. And for those of you that were able to watch, she talked about these awesome gratitude sunglasses that she sells through her website, which is gratisize365.com here. And she mailed me a pair. I got them today. Can you see gratitude on both sides? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Thinking of ordering in bulk to give these away as prizes here on the broadcast. But if you like them, you can get them on gratisize365.com. Thank you, Sharon, if you're watching. Thank you for sending these to me. I often say, gratitude is looking at life through a different lens. And these lenses are beautiful to look through, especially when you've got gratitude on the side of them. So thank you, Sharon. My book, as many of you know that have been watching for a while, my new book, the 52-Week Intention Journal, comes out on the 29th. And those of you that signed up to be reviewers and got free copies should be getting your copies now. And thank you for signing up. Do not worry if you go to write a review. You cannot write a review on Amazon until the day the book comes out, which is March 29th. So rest assured on that day, my publisher will be having me email you all to remind you and show you how to go about doing it. So hope you're enjoying it. I'm super excited about it. Art department just did beautiful things with it. Actually, I've got a nice little overlay here. Where's my book? There's my book. It's really kind of, even though this is my second book, it's still kind of surreal and cool to see my name on a book. It's awesome. I'm very proud of it. So thank you for those of you that signed up to be reviewers. If you want to pre-order a copy, you can. They're available on Amazon now. If you look in the show notes, there will be a link to order a copy. I want to get to our guests. So let me just tell you about some upcoming shows we've got. Oh, if you're watching, I have a group on Facebook called Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. Let me put that up here. Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, which chances are many of you who are watching live are from there. Hello, Grateful Gangsters. If you want to join, we would love to have you. You do not need to have chronic physical pain to join. It's really a group who strives to thrive despite our struggles. And I use pain in air quotes because I think pain is pain, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, whatever. A lot of us have many different types of pain. So certainly no need to, have an actual chronic physical condition if you'd like to join. However, if you are watching from inside the group and you want to win a copy of my book, which I am giving away one free copy tonight, you need to make sure you sign in through StreamYard. So you need to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Here it is right here. StreamYard.com/Facebook, and grant them permission to use your name and your photo. And that's because we are a private group. So for Facebook's privacy policy will not enable them to use your name and photo and comment. Your comment won't come up to me either, or the comment will come up, but you will come up as Facebook user, as you see on the screen here. So please grant them permission. If you write #gratitude anytime tonight in the comments, you can win a copy of my new book, The 52-Week Intention Journal. So let's get to who's coming up. Next week, I have the best guest ever. It's me talking about living with intention. I'll be going through the book and talking all about it. So that's a special book release episode. March 31st, the following Thursday, Sandy Scarlotta from the Happiness Solved podcast is going to be on talking about forgiveness. She has an incredibly powerful story on forgiveness in her own life that you are not going to want to miss. The following Thursday, Laura DeFranco, who's a publisher of personal growth books, healing personal growth books. She's going to come on talking about writing and healing. She wants to call it the right way to practice gratitude, which I thought, look at the way right is spelled and you'll see why that's clever. And then finally, April 14th, David Freiberg is going to come on. He has a business called Envision Kindness. He's going to be talking to us all about kindness. And one more announcement. If you are in AOG, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, we are having a very special webinar next Wednesday. It is Wednesday, March 23rd. Margaret Alvarez, who is an artist and art teacher, she's going to be coming on and doing an exclusive webinar just for the members of the Journaling Club. She has done an entire class revolving around Christy Nelson's book, Wake Up Grateful. And so Arlene has done this entire month's challenge in the Journaling Club based on Margaret's work. So she's going to be joining us live next Wednesday at 7 p.m. But you can only watch if you're a member of the Journaling Club. So go ahead and join that. And to be a member of the Journaling Club, you need to join Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. So I think that is it for me. And let me bring on our awesome guest who's got an awesome name, Lauren. Hey, Lauren.
Hello. Thank you for having me today. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you for being here. This is Lauren Fonvielle. Yes, Fonvielle? Yes, correct pronunciation. She is an integrative energy practitioner. Is that right? Am I getting that right?
Yep.
Tell us what that is and how you got started in it.
Yeah, so that basically means I use a variety of different modalities, and I really specialize in EFT tapping to guide my clients on a journey of self-healing, breaking through obstacles, whether those be physical, mental, or emotional, to get to a place of feeling good, feeling better in their bodies, and yeah, really honing in on that gratitude of where they are at.
Hey, gang, if those of you that are watching live, if you have tried tapping before, write something in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you've never heard of tapping, we'd love to hear from you as well. It's so Lauren came to me, it's been a couple months, I think. She came to me, she's a member of AOG, and she came to me asking, she's been on a million podcasts and is always interviewed by many, many podcasters, came to me about coming on the broadcast. And I was a bit hesitant at first, which she knows, because I don't generally get into therapies and techniques and things like that, because my message is really, trying to heal the emotional aspect of our chronic pain, and I don't ever want to be associated with certain therapies. But this really, I would argue, it really kind of isn't a therapy, because you can do it on your own, right?
It's technically not a therapy. Yeah.
And then I said to you tonight before we came on, it's really no different from gratitude. It's a way to deal with your pain and trauma, which you can do on your own, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Tell us your story of chronic pain. How did you come into this work, and where were you when you had chronic pain? You still do, I know, at times, but
yeah. So yeah, my whole journey really started with my anxiety and my stress levels. My husband is in the military, and we had done multiple deployments before, but the most recent deployment really kind of came out of the blue and was unexpected. And when that happened, my stress levels went through the roof. And as I'm sure many people can relate, when your stress goes up, the chronic pain goes up. And so I went into a really bad TMJ flare up. And I was trying all sorts of things to feel better, right? Because there was mornings where I would wake up and my jaw would be locked and I could barely open my mouth. And I was introduced to EFT tapping in a group coaching session. It was just kind of random. The coach I was working with started bringing in different people to talk to us, and this was one woman who she brought in.
Now,
And
EFT stands for
it's
Emotional Freedom
technique.
Technique.
Yeah,
Okay.
emotional freedom technique, and it really does help you find freedom from your emotions. And it's also called tapping. So those two can be used interchangeably. And it's this process of gently tapping on certain points of the body, right? And in doing so, you're releasing anxiety and stress and physical pain. And so when I was first introduced to that idea, I was so incredibly skeptical. I thought that sounded ridiculous, that you could tap on yourself and feel better. And then when I was in this group session, we were tapping on anxiety, and I at the end of the session I was like, whoa, I actually feel better. That is weird. I don't know why I feel better, but something is happening here. And that's really where it all started. And then I was tapping a little bit on my own, and then I had some one-on-one sessions with this practitioner when I realized that this could really help with physical pain. And so that's when I wanted to tap on my TMJ pain. And I can go into that story if you want me to.
Yeah, let's take some comments first. I have a
Okay.
tendency to let them get so backlogged, and then
Yeah.
these poor people are responding to things I don't remember what they're responding here. Hey,
Okay.
Jill, you're actually signed in tonight. Look at you. Awesome. Sometimes this whole signing in thing that I keep talking about doesn't always work.
Okay.
Hi, Linda. Now, see, this is, thank you for saying they look great. I'm a Facebook user. Whoever said that, if you could go back out and sign back in, only if you care about your name being up and if you want to win a copy of the book. Unfortunately, although it looks on your page like you're showing up on the dashboard, it's not. So cool. I assume that's the sunglasses. Love those sunglasses. Me too. Gratitude is the best accessory. Jill said that in the group today, and I told her that, hey, Christine's the one I was telling you about that was excited for you to come on.
Oh, awesome.
Christine, I was telling her that like the minute I put the post up about her coming on, that you wrote a post saying you were just talking about that. I look like a movie star. Thank you. Sunglasses. I knew what you meant, Sandy. Don't forget #gratitude if you want to win the book. Hey, Jennifer, glad you're here. And okay, what did I tell you? There were going to be some people that have never heard of tapping.
Mm-hmm.
Sandy, who's one of our moderators, never heard of it. Hi, Suzanne, glad you're here. What is tapping? Another one. That's great. Here's one. I've tried it for the first time this year, meant to make it a practice, and it got put on the back burner. Me too. So I find it interesting. The universe is throwing it right back into my lap with tonight's live, for sure. I've had an acquaintance who does tapping with veterans with PTSD and has had success with it. Lauren does a lot with trauma, and we're going to get into that as well.
Yeah, there's actually a recent study that came out about PTSD that we can talk about too.
Really good. Excited to hear more about tapping. Shannon, hey Shannon, glad you're here. Looked at Lauren's page today and tried tapping today. I think I have a lot more to learn. Yeah. I was very skeptical too, but even doing it just a few times, you do feel something. It's pretty crazy. Okay, we'll leave it at that for now. So yeah, so tell us, where you want to get into, like your studies, I think is where you wanted to get at, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll go into a little bit of my personal story with how it helped with my pain, just so you kind of can have an understanding of how it can work for people. So I signed up for this one-on-one session, and the first question I was asked was how intense is my pain, and that particular day it was pretty bad. So you always start tapping by acknowledging where you are in that moment on a scale of 0 to 10, right? And sometimes that can be tough because that's like the pain scale too. It can be hard for people to pick a number, but you can do a little, medium, a lot, whatever it is. It's just to kind of check back in later on. So that day I said I was at an 8, and so she asked me, how did it make you feel? How did it make me feel that I was dealing with this TMJ and this pain, and it was frustrated, right? And so the way that it works is that the I was repeating what she would say. She was asking me questions, and then she was taking the answers to the questions and turning them into statements. And then she would say the sentence, and then I would repeat her, and we would tap on
Hmm.
these points. And so we were saying things like, "I'm so frustrated." I'm so frustrated. It's really frustrating to have TMJ. And so and then she would continue to ask me questions, right? So first it was frustration, then it was really I got angry, and I didn't realize how angry I was because my TMJ really started as a result of getting my wisdom teeth out, and the dentist,
Really?
yeah, the
Oh,
dentist
wow.
actually had to dislocate my jaw to get my
Oh,
wisdom teeth out. Yeah, it was not, I did not know that that was going to happen. So I started talking about how angry I was at the dentist.
yeah, which
And
happens a lot. We have a lot of members who, had botched surgeries and things like that. So anger is a very real part of chronic pain for
yeah,
a lot of people.
definitely. And I should say that I had the wisdom teeth about 15 years prior,
I was
right?
gonna say,
So it
did
was
you get it done, like, high school, college,
Yeah,
like
it was a
most of
long
yeah.
time ago. So I didn't think I was, like, still angry about it. So that was one thing that was surprising that I noticed during that. And then it went to this feeling of betrayal. I felt betrayed by the dentist.
Yep.
And so we tapped on that. And then this is where it gets interesting and why I like to share this story. I had what I felt like was a random thought. I had a thought of how I was betrayed by a friend in a completely unrelated situation, but the practitioner kept on encouraging me to whatever was coming to mind to share that with her. And so I said to her, I said, I don't think this is related, but I just thought about this friend that betrayed me too. And she said, okay, we're going to tap on it anyway. And so then we tapped on that particular situation and how I felt betrayed by the friend. And then ultimately it ended with me feeling sad that I lost that friendship. So this was over the course of about an hour. So it started with feeling really frustrated about the pain, ended with me feeling sad about losing a friendship. I never would have connected those
Wow.
dots and gotten there. And then she asked me, check back in with your pain and see where you're at. And I checked back in with my pain and I was at a 2. And I was like, what just happened? It
That's
totally
crazy.
blew my mind. And so
It
I
sounds too good to be true, and I know you and I talked about this before the broadcast
yeah.
and the last time we talked. So many of us, anybody living with chronic pain, for the most part for a while, has tried everything.
Mhm.
And with each thing we try, we had our hopes up and then we get frustrated.
Mhm.
So you must have gone through that at that point. So what was it
Yeah.
like for you to,
I was
all of a sudden have this tapping and all of a sudden,
I was shocked.
yeah,
I was completely shocked. I didn't know if it was gonna stay. I didn't, there was a lot of, like, kind of confusion around it, but I kept on coming back to gratitude for the fact that, like, I'm feeling better right now. I don't know why, but I'm grateful that I'm feeling better right now. Um,
yeah.
and so I continued to tap and continued to go along that journey, and eventually go on to get certified so that I can share this with other people. It's not to say that I don't get flare ups, right? We were talking about that before we came live too. Like that still does happen where it'll start to get intense for me. Nothing like what it was before. Nothing like the really intense flare ups that I had, but I will still get pain here. And for me now, it's more of like an indicator of, hey, something's going on that I haven't been dealing with that I need to address. And I can use it as an indicator, an emotional indicator that I need to let some stuff go. I need to acknowledge how I'm feeling.
So it's like a warning signal kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
that ability to tune into your body, and that's a lot of what tapping is really honing in and tuning in, listening to your body, really getting specific with the sensations that you're feeling, really getting specific with the emotions that you're noticing. And sometimes, and I do want to say, like, sometimes it is you'll notice a drastic change like that, like I did, right? But sometimes it's not like that, and sometimes it's more, new awareness will come because as we're tapping, we're saying how we're feeling, and when you're doing that, sometimes we're thinking things in our head over and over. Like, I don't know what the studies say, but they say, like, we think the same thoughts
Yeah.
over and over, like every day, right?
Right.
And so sometimes when we're thinking those thoughts over and over, taking the time to tap and say it out loud, saying it out loud, that in itself can begin to create a cognitive shift. Something that feels really, really true because we've been saying it over and over again, suddenly will start to feel like silly or maybe not so true. It's interesting how that can happen
So
and
maybe
how.
kind of takes away its power a little bit?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
exactly. But with saying it out loud, something just begins to shift there, and it can make some real change.
I was gonna ask you kind of how it works, like, last week with Sharon Sarago Walters was on, she encouraged us to do, give us a gentle hug first thing in the morning, which I've started doing, and it's a really nice gesture of self-love, and often when I'm, sharing meditations or even writing my good night post in the group, I encourage people to put their hand over their heart because it gets them in touch with themselves. Is tapping like that? Is that what tapping
Yeah,
is? Is
actually,
kind of,
you can
yeah?
actually one of the point, like the chest points, you can either use 2 hands like this, or you can use the one hand like this, and your thumb and your index finger are tapping 2 of the points. So that's something that I like to remind people of when we go through and show where the points are. Like, which of these points are you naturally touching during the day? And you'll notice that perhaps you are touching some of these points on a regular basis. And
Now, if it's fibromyalgia, which I know we're gonna talk about, I that's one of my conditions, and there are those I forget how many points, but those pressure points, right? Is
Mhm.
that part of what's
Right.
happening? Yeah.
Yeah. So when I describe what tapping is and how it works, I like to compare it to acupuncture because people are more familiar with acupuncture. So when you go to an acupuncturist, they take those tiny little needles and they put them in at certain points on your body. And the points on the body that they put them in at are the end points of the meridians. And the meridians are how energy moves through the body. But with tapping, what we're doing is applying light pressure to some of these same points that if you were to go to an acupuncturist, they may put the needles in at. And then there's the added difference of speaking out loud the emotions that you're feeling that helps to connect the two. But what, and people are like, well, why does it work, what's going on? And so I mentioned that there is a lot of science behind it. And what's happening is that as you tap on these points, a message is being sent to the amygdala in the brain, and the amygdala is the part of the brain that controls fight, flight, or freeze, right? And
And that's what mindfulness and the breath breaks that I do in the group help with that as well, yeah.
right. Yeah. And that I always like to remind people that part of your brain there is there to help you, right? It's there to help you when you're in a dangerous situation and you need to run away or you need to fight back. But when we're talking about chronic pain and how that can cause anxiety, you can get like caught in that loop of pain and
Sure,
anxiety. And then the amygdala is firing all the time, right? So
right.
I like to use what's called the hand model to demonstrate this because I'm kind of a visual person, and it helps me, right? So if we think of my hand as the brain, and so this part of my brain here is this part of my hand here, right? And so when information is coming up the brain stem to the prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain, that's how we make good sound decisions. But when we are dealing with anxiety, when we're in pain, and then that's triggering that anxiety and overwhelm and that stress response, the amygdala, we're going to pretend the amygdala is my thumb here, is like this alarm center. And
Mm.
so when the alarm is going off, it's like you flip your lid. And so when information is coming up the brain,
It's an understatement.
yeah, like it can't get there because this alarm is going off, right? And so what tapping does is it sends a message to the amygdala and it says, "Hey, you don't actually need to be in fight or flight right
Mm.
now." And in doing so, it helps to bring the prefrontal cortex back online so that you can then make those sound good decisions. And what's happening is when that alarm is going off, cortisol is being pumped into the body, right? And cortisol
Which
is a
is stuff that
stress.
makes you happy, yeah, right,
The cortisol is the stress hormone.
right,
And we don't want that to be coming into the body all the
right.
time, right? And so, and these, and study was done by Dr. Peta Stapleton that showed after tapping, and it was group tapping, it resulted in a reduction of cortisol by up to 43%. I mean, that's a huge,
That is a huge percent.
it's a huge
So
number.
is it just reducing the cortisol? Is it also releasing serotonin to make up for that, or is it just reducing the
It's reducing the
okay,
cortisol, which then, what calms the body and calms the mind
right.
so that you feel more at ease. Yeah.
This is fascinating. I can see there's a bunch of comments coming in. I don't wanna get bogged down again because I told you were gonna get a lot tonight.
Yeah.
Um, Facebook user says, "Wow, interesting. I almost didn't watch tonight because I thought it sounded crazy.
I can
LOL."
appreciate that. I could truly appreciate that. I thought
Yeah,
it
for
was
sure.
crazy
We
too.
said that, whoever you are, Facebook user, we said that before, the episode, so don't feel bad. Does it matter what is causing the pain, nerve versus muscular? Good
No,
question.
no, it does not. There was actually there's a group called the Tapping Solutions, and they did a documentary, and they had, people with all sorts of different issues come, and one was a woman that in a really bad car accident. Like, there were physical reasons for her to be in pain, and it's a brother and a sister who run this group, and the sister
There's
was like,
also a book that sounds very familiar
yes,
to
it is
me.
a book
Okay.
too. They have a company. Everything is like
Yeah,
Tapping
yeah,
Solutions.
yeah.
Yeah. And the sister wasn't sure, like, oh, should we have this person come? Because, like, she has real reason to be in pain. And the brother was like, no, like, it doesn't matter. The tapping can help anyway. So it doesn't matter why you have the pain or what's causing the pain. It has the potential to help.
Great. We are here, if you're tuning in late, we're here with Lauren Fonvielle of, um, Mindshift mindshiftwithlauren.com, but you can reach her both of her websites, you can reach her at go to the same place. So it's mindshiftwithlauren.com or laurenfonville.com. These will be in the show notes. Um, all of this information, she's got a blog, her upcoming events, and we're going to talk about a workshop that she offers, and she's on every podcast known to man. So you definitely want to sign up for her website if this is interesting to you. And how could it not be? Because it's great. But let's get to some. Oh, and if you want to win a copy of my book tonight, you just have to type in the comments hashtag gratitude and make sure you're signed in. Let's see. Let's get to some of these comments. I've been wanting to check out. I've been wanting to check out tapping. So this is great. Fantastic. Sandy, as the same doesn't work with any type of pain yet. Heidi, wow, what a story of you tapping. I know, right? We should talk about that story you were just telling me about the woman with fibromyalgia, but let me get fascinating. The hand demo. I know, I like the hand demo too. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense to me. And wow, that's incredible that it just decreases cortisol that much. I know,
Yeah.
40%. That's amazing. Um, Okay, yeah. Do you wanna talk I don't wanna get you off track, but do you wanna tell them about the woman you were telling me about?
Sure,
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. So just before, I was telling Lauren about how I did a workshop for a fibromyalgia support group, and the women it was all women, and everyone in that group had not, except for the woman who invited me there, they had never done tapping before, and so it was very new, and people were very skeptical, which again I totally understand. And in the workshop, I asked for a volunteer, and this woman volunteered, and she shared with me that she had really bad pain in her knees, and that she had been on the couch for the last 3 days because she just couldn't move around. She was in so much pain. So I asked her questions similar to the questions that I just described in my story about, how it made her feel, how having the pain was very limiting, and it was frustrating. And, asked her about how long she'd been dealing with it, those sorts of things. So we used the answers to those questions to tap on those things. And we tapped for about 20 minutes, about halfway through, she's like, she just, I wish I had it on video, because she had this look on her face like, what, like, well, I don't know what's happening right now. She's like, this is weird. I'm feeling better.
it
And
makes me wanna cry.
yeah,
It makes me wanna cry.
no, it does. It made me almost want to cry too. Like, seeing her have this shift of being like, what's happening? I feel better. Why is this working? She was confused, right? And that's a common thing for people to feel when they're tapping: confusion, Tears can come to the eyes. Yawning is really normal. Giggling. It really starts to bring
Really
the
yawning,
up to the
interesting.
surface. Yeah.
'Cause that's oxygen to the brain, right? That's what yawning is, you need oxygen
Yeah,
to the brain.
yeah, yeah, and I also think it's just an indicator that energy is moving,
Yeah.
because the definition of emotion is energy in motion, and our emotions need to move, and this is a process that can help with that. And so by the time we get to the end, it was a short little demo, so about 15-20 minutes. By the time we get to the end, she was like, I don't remember offhand what her numbers were, but she was like, I feel great. And I'm like, okay, well, that's awesome. And she's like, I'm gonna go wash the dishes. Like she was so excited to go wash the dishes. And I was thinking to myself, well, I don't know if that would be my first choice.
No,
And-
me
but
neither. I'd go on vacation somewhere.
yeah, like, in reflecting back on it, I'm like, "Oh, this poor woman was probably sitting on the couch watching her dishes just pile up over the last 3 days because she just didn't feel up to washing them, and that's what she wanted to do," you know? I was like,
Yeah.
and so that was a really great, experience for me
Oh,
and
I
to
bet.
witness for her. And the other thing is with fibromyalgia, I there was another, fibromyalgia client that I worked with, and the tapping itself was bothersome to her.
Hmm.
And so I like
Oh,
to
'cause
share.
skin sometimes hurts.
Yeah, like
Yeah, yeah.
she didn't wanna do it, and even I was like, "Okay, well, you can tap. I mean, you can just hold the points and I'll tap," but even her, like, watching me tap was bothering her. So I was like,
Oh,
"Okay,
wow.
we can both just hold the point." So instead of tapping, if tapping bothers you, right, then you can just hold pressure, light pressure on each of the points too. That's also an
Oh, good to
option.
know. That's a good segue. I don't wanna let too much time get away before we show people how exactly we do this.
Yeah, sure. We can jump right into that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay,
So,
cool.
where do you start? How do you do it on your own?
Okay, so we start with the pinky side of the hand. You can do it on either hand. I typically tap with my right because I'm a righty, but it doesn't matter. And
Does
when
how hard or how light you do
Gently,
it?
gently. You never wanna be hurting yourself. You always wanna make sure we're gonna be touching the face, so you wanna make sure that you have clean hands and that, you're taking responsibility for your emotional well-being as we move through this practice. And some people will ask, "Well, how many times do you tap on each point?" You can see that I'm tapping a bunch. I think, like the books say, at least 7 to 8 times, but it's really just what feels good to you. And for me, it's like when we're saying the sentences, we'll say a sentence on each point. Um, so this is the first point, and it's where we do the setup statement, and we can come back to that afterwards. And then we go to the top of the head, and I like to do it with an open palm, but some people like to bring their fingertips together. And so if you think about like when you go to the doctor or when you take your kids to the doctor and they bring you up to the thing to measure and that thing comes down to touch you, it's like right in the center of your head. That's where you want to be tapping. And then the
Is
next
it always the same, Lauren? I don't mean to interrupt you. So you
yes.
always do this and then you always do the okay, so
Yes, and but if you don't if you have like a real aversion to any of the points, it's okay to skip it.
okay,
There's no like wrong way of doing it. Or if you
okay.
miss one by accident, it's fine. And then the next is the start of the eyebrows. So you can do two hands here like I'm doing, or you can bring one hand with like the two finger. I'm like doing it in the yeah, it's like doing it in the camera, like that.
Mhm.
And then the next points are the side of the eyes. And then we go under the eyes. And you may notice that certain points are more sensitive, if you
Nice.
with sinus issues like this, these points could be sensitive. So just being
Oh,
mindful of that. Under the nose. And so under the nose, you can kind of do the two fingers like I'm doing here. Some people like to do side of the finger, like you got a little mustache here. It's totally up to you. And then on the chin crease here.
do you have something on your website that kinda gives you a blow by blow of, like, what you're supposed to do when, like a worksheet or something?
Yeah, I do have a PDF,
I
yeah.
know you have a whole bunch of videos, which are very
Uh-huh,
helpful.
yeah. And then the collarbone. So for the collarbone, we have this little center area where you wanna go down about an inch, over about an inch, inch and a half. So you're really on the fleshy part underneath the bone. And
Those are
so what goes
fibromyalgia pressure points right there.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So you can do it like this, or as I was saying earlier, you can bring the one hand to the center and really spread the index finger and the thumb apart, which should be touching those same points as well. And then the next one is underneath the arm on the side. I'm like I've got this cape on here. On the side of the body. So for women, it's really like the center of the bra strap. For men, it's about 2 inches, 2.5 inches from the armpit. And then the last point is the back of the hand between the pinky and the ring finger. I tend to like to bring my hand
Oh,
onto my heart. That's called the gamut point.
huh.
And that's it. And that's also one that I tend to like to just like hold too. That one's one of my favorites. This one's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I
And so
like
you may notice that like, if you're stressed out and you're at work, maybe you come up and you're touching these points. You're like, you're overwhelmed. You
yeah.
naturally touch these points. Or maybe you pinch here, like, people will pinch here. And so just notice if you naturally happen to touch these points during the day. And if you take anything away from tonight, maybe it's just like, oh, I like that point. I know if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I can apply pressure or tap on that point and that.
Why those particular areas? I'm just curious.
So those points are the end points of the meridians. And the meridians are how the energy moves through the body. So it's like the same thing with acupuncture. They put those needles in at the end points of the meridians.
Okay. One of the many things I love about this, like the breath breaks that I post in the group, which are always like they're meditation practices, usually between 3 and 5 minutes. You can do them throughout the day whenever you feel you need it. You
Mhm.
can do this on your own whenever you feel like you need it, right? I
Yeah,
mean, the whole
absolutely.
process takes what, a couple minutes? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure you
No,
can do more.
absolutely. Like the answers are at your fingertips, right? So
Yeah.
you can definitely do this on your own for sure. Some people will in the beginning, if you're getting used to it, they will maybe struggle with what words to say as they tap on the points. But even just tapping on the points and breathing is a great exercise. Um,
Suzanne wants to get right to it. Where did the lady with fibromyalgia tap?
So all those same points that we just tapped on were the same points that she was tapping on. And we were and what so when you're tapping, right? Like you want to get as specific as possible. So sometimes you're just, maybe sometimes the feeling is overwhelmed, right? And you don't, everything's just overwhelming. And so you start there, and then as you continue to say that, maybe something comes up as to why you're overwhelmed. And you slowly begin to hone in on the specifics of the situation. And, it's the same thing with pain. Like when you ask questions, well, how long have you been dealing with that? How does it make you feel? What was happening in your life when it first started? Those sorts of things. And then also getting into specifics of what the sensations feel like in your body can be helpful words to use as you're tapping. There are lots of videos out there. I have lots of videos on my website, and that can be helpful for people that are just getting started and wanting to try it out. But I always caveat that with, this work is most effective when you're using words that resonate with you. Like when you're using your own words, that's what makes it most effective. So if you're tapping along with the video and they're saying something and you're not really feeling that, that's not going to be as beneficial to you. So that's one thing, using your own words. And the other thing is really focusing in on the feelings and allowing yourself to feel the feelings. Because if you're just saying the feelings and thinking about what you're going to have for dinner later,
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
So
So,
let's talk about the words. What do we say? Do we, say I'm having I see that Lisa says she's going to do this tomorrow when she's working. Say you're having a very stressful day at work and you need to break away for a couple minutes and do this, what would you say that
so you would say, so you start off by on the pinky side of the hand, we start off and we'll say the same sentence 3 times. So if we're talking about like feeling stressed or anxious, even though I'm feeling really stressed right now, that's just how it is. Even though I'm feeling really stressed right now, I love and accept myself. And then maybe you know where you're feeling it in your body, right? Even though I'm feeling really stressed right now and my shoulders are really tight, that's where I'm at right now. And so you use those
it's
words.
kind of acceptance?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, you're just acknowledging where you're at, right? And so tapping, sometimes people will ask, well, you're saying something negative, right? You're starting, But the thing is that it's not that you're saying something negative. The tapping meets you where you
You're
are.
saying your truth.
You're saying
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
You're saying your truth. And so, some people will say, okay, like if we acknowledge that I'm feeling really angry right now, right? Okay, now let's say a
Now
positive
you're saying, "I'm feeling grateful."
Right, right. Like, I'm feeling really angry. Let me flip a switch and say a positive affirmation. And while, you could try that, that isn't usually authentic because even though you're saying the words, you might not feel it.
Right.
So tapping really allows you to acknowledge where you are and how you're feeling. And then slowly, when it feels authentically true to you, move to that better feeling thought. And so maybe that better feeling thought is, even though I'm really angry, I know I've felt this way before and I'll get through it, right? So maybe that's the better feeling.
Yep, yep.
Whatever that's, so you're slowly moving in that direction. And sometimes it can take a while to get there. Sometimes it happens quickly. It depends on a lot of things. Depends on
Yeah.
you, depends on the situation, your readiness for a change, for healing, all of that.
So it's acknowledging your feelings, allowing yourself to feel those feelings.
Mhm.
And those of you guys who watch me know that I'm a big proponent of feeling your feels, and gratitude is not a replacement for the negative. It's choosing to find joy, walking through our problems and finding joy despite it and finding the things that don't hurt. It's not ignoring what does, because eventually it's going to catch up to you, right? So, all right. So let's say I'm having a rough day at work, but I will get through it.
Right.
And do you keep repeating the same thing over and
Yeah,
over with
you
each
can
one?
keep it very simple and
Okay.
just repeat the same thing. You can keep it even simple, like, just sticking with the emotion. I'm feeling really anxious. And then you could, if there's a sensation in the body, I'm feeling really anxious and my chest is tight, right? So getting as specific as you can. I'm feeling really anxious.
Feeling really anxious.
I'm feeling really anxious.
I'm feeling really anxious.
I'm feeling really anxious.
Feeling really anxious.
I'm carrying all this anxiety.
I'm carrying all this anxiety.
I'm feeling really anxious.
I'm feeling really anxious.
Really
That
anxious.
one feels really nice to me for some reason.
The lip one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's just interesting how different people, like, have their different favorite points
I
for
think we
sure.
don't it sounds strange, but I think we don't touch ourselves enough. That's why I like the hugging idea and the
Mhm.
hand over the heart. This is just another, it's like an act of self-compassion too,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. No, it
Self-love,
really is. It
self-compassion,
really is. All of this anxiety.
all of this anxiety.
So much anxiety.
So much anxiety.
All of this anxiety.
Oh, I forgot about that one. That's the one you end on, right? All
Yep.
of this anxiety.
And then you can pause between rounds and take a deep breath in and check in and see if anything has shifted. Does the anxiety feel the same? And sometimes I will say this, sometimes when you're tapping on something, it can feel heightened, right? So it can feel more intense at first, and that's not and that kind of makes sense, right? Like if you're focusing in on something, you're bringing your attention to something, sometimes that can increase your awareness around it and it can feel more intense. That does not mean that tapping doesn't work for you. It's actually an indicator that tapping does work for
Okay.
you. You just need to continue to keep tapping. You just need to allow yourself to feel those things that are coming up.
It's like some medications, they say you're gonna feel worse before you feel better, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, no, it's a great comparison.
Shannon says, "Loving this, fascinating, thank you." Glad you
Awesome.
like it, Shannon. Um, do you repeat tapping until you feel better?
Yeah, I mean, the ideally, right? You're tapping so that yeah, you can feel better. And so you can continue to tap and notice where the thoughts go, notice what else is coming up, and then begin to use those words, continuing to check in. And most people, my experience has been anyway that definitely helps to move the needle in the right direction.
So I was looking at your website, which I just had the, um the URL up here, laurenfonvielle.com or mindshiftwithlauren.com. I was on there. You've got so much great information. Here's her website. As you can see, it's a beautiful website. So many of the things you have on there, like I think I was looking under resources,
Mhm.
and you had anxiety over the dentist there,
Uh-huh.
which was like, boom, because I don't know, I get a bit anxious over the dentist, so and I would imagine you do, gosh, after, what you
Yeah.
went through, but that's a very textbook thing to be anxious about,
Mhm.
so, what is that, a tapping exercise you have specifically for the dentist?
That actually was a written case study on work that I did with a particular client, and she came to me because she had a lot of trauma over things that had happened in her childhood when she went to the dentist, and she had a lot of fear around going to the dentist. And so we had several sessions leading up to her appointment, and she had an amazing experience at the dentist. The tapping really helped to keep her anxiety in check. She didn't have a panic attack. Before she had contacted me, she had canceled that appointment 3 times, because, she was so nervous, and
Mhm.
she was scared. So tapping is something that can definitely help with your fear of something. And in her case, she was having there was some PTSD there from her prior experience, and tapping can really has been shown to help with PTSD. There was a study that was done on veterans, and they tapped with them for 6 weeks, and then 6 weeks in a row, once a week. And after those sessions, they checked their PTSD symptoms. 90% of the people in that group had a reduction in their PTSD symptoms. Yeah.
Oh
Um,
my goodness,
no, it's a huge number, and then they checked back in with them 3 months later, and again 6 months later, and the results were still the same.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you brought that up because I did wanna talk to you about trauma, and of course,
mhm,
we're running out of time in a little bit. The hours always go so fast, but
yeah,
I wanted to talk about trauma and PTSD.
mhm,
We were talking about this a little bit, prior to the episode, but so many of us live with trauma,
mhm,
either, things that happened in our past for sure, and a lot of experts and studies say that a lot of chronic pain can be caused, or exacerbated by some kind of trauma in your past.
mhm.
But also, I would argue that just the act of having chronic pain in and of itself is trauma. We live with constant state of maybe not a constant state of stress. I shouldn't generalize, but we do live with a stress in our body that we need to deal with. So I know you do a lot of work with people with anxiety and PTSD.
Mhm.
That study, 90% of people and these are veterans.
Yeah, they were veterans, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And just to kind of explain how that works, right? So when we experience trauma, there's some sort of event that happens, whether it's the big T trauma or little T trauma, like you said, most of us have had some experience with trauma. Um, there's a physical sensation, right? So if we go with the example of a car accident, you're in a car accident, and your heart is racing, and you're shaking, all of those types of feelings in your body that you have in the moment of the car accident, right? And then you heal from that, and it's the future. And then maybe you're exposed to a loud sound of a car, backfiring, or a screech of it coming down the street, whatever it may be. Or maybe you just see the color of the car, the same car that you got into an accident with. Whatever the trigger may be, it's like that brings you back in time, right? So that you're physically experiencing
Sure.
those same sensations that you had at the time of the accident. And the way that tapping helps is it doesn't erase the memory, it doesn't change the memory, but what it does do is that it creates this space between the traumatic experience and the physical sensation in your body, so that eventually you can get to a point where you can think about that thing that happened, talk about that thing that happened if you want to, and be exposed to that trigger and not have that physical sensation in your body,
Wow.
so that you feel safe in your body.
So it's
And
kind of a self-soothing mechanism in a
yeah,
way, right?
yeah, it can be self-soothing in the moment if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, but then it's also this practice of really peeling back the layers to get to
Yeah.
the root
Yeah.
issue, so that you can get to the root and pull it out, and not have to continually be faced with it.
and you guys that have been with me for a while, about a year and a half ago, we were gifted with a screening of the film This Might Hurt, featuring the work of Dr. Howard Schubiner and his program, and it talked about just that, peeling back the layers to get to your trauma. And so many people were, I don't want to say cured or healed, I don't like those words, but symptoms drastically reduced by doing that. And it absolutely, have you seen that film, This Might Hurt?
I have not. I'm gonna have
I'll
to check that
I'll
out.
send you the link. It's fantastic. You especially would be really super interested. Um, I don't know if I got to this one yet. This is so awesome. Thank you. Jennifer McGregor says, I have panic disorder. I think this is a tool I need in my toolbox. My chest tightness is gone after the session tonight, and it is ever present for me. Thank you so much. Add
Oh,
another one. Add another one to your list. That's awesome, Jennifer. That makes me so, so happy. And Jill, you're the person I thought of when she was talking about the car. Trauma impact, it's real.
mhm.
Absolutely. So we still have a little bit of time with Lauren. Please, gang, feel free. You can ask about your specific questions if you want. This is not like the regular group where you can't, our broadcast is open for all questions. We're open free and open to the public as well. So we're not confined with the AOG rules, but she's here. She's a wealth of knowledge. Let's talk about you. You mentioned that you have a course, right?
I have a master class. I have a
Master
master
class.
class that really goes into more detail of the science and gives examples of tapping on my website. So yeah, I would definitely invite you if you feel curious about this and you want to learn a little bit more. I invite you to take that master class. It's free,
Are
and
you serious?
yeah, it's a free master class.
That's very generous. So mindshiftwithlauren.com/masterclass. And
Hmm.
I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
Free. And how much material is it? Like, is it,
It's an hour long. It's about an hour long webinar.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
and if someone here is like really interested in learning more, I do offer free consultations too.
wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So generous. This is fascinating and helpful. Thank you. So we've talked a little bit about gratitude. How do you feel gratitude plays into your own healing? And then how does it come into play with, EFT, finding your emotional freedom, would you say?
Yeah, I mean my personal gratitude practice has been transformational for me. I like to take time at the end of the day to write in my journal the things that I'm grateful for, and it really does shift your mindset. And I do always like to when it's appropriate, right? At the end of sessions when I'm working with my clients, really focus in on the things that we're grateful for. And maybe what you're grateful for is, even though I'm in pain, I'm showing up for myself today. And that's where you're at. But acknowledging that, because I think all too often it's easy to not. And so being grateful for the little things is
Yeah.
really important.
I mean, I think the second you do this for the first time, you're showing up for yourself,
Mhm.
whether or not it works, or the fact that you're at least trying
Right.
is showing up for yourself. And I know my audience is hungry for knowledge, and they're not generally the cynics out there. So I know that they've got open minds because, you know, honestly, when you've been, living with a chronic condition, and we talked about this too, for years and years, sometimes decades, and you've tried everything, like, what do you have to lose? You have nothing to lose.
That's right.
Gosh, wouldn't it be something if this even gave you a little bit of help? And if
Yeah,
I give
that's the
you
thing. There's no negative side effects of tapping. One of the positive benefits too, in addition to helping with pain and stuff, is also that it really helps improve sleep. So if you're someone that struggles with sleep,
oh,
you're waking up in the middle of the night, whatever it is, tapping can really help with that.
is
Um,
that what, doing it right before bed, or just like anytime throughout the day?
Anytime throughout the day, but I
Wow.
do find that tapping before bed is really helpful because, sometimes when you lay down, it's like all those thoughts in your head
Yeah.
start to cycle. And so
Yeah.
sometimes if you just tap about those thoughts that you're having, I find that it creates that internal space in your brain so that you're more easily able to kind of just like sink into sleep. And the same way, and if you're someone who struggles with meditation, it can be helpful to, and you want to be a meditator,
Yeah,
it can be helpful to tap beforehand for that same reason. Like
that's
just
a
like
good
get
idea.
everything out of your head that you're thinking, just tap and talk. Whatever's going on, whether it's your to-do list or you're frustrated with something that happened yesterday, tap and talk about of those things. It creates the space so then you can sink into your meditation a little bit easier.
I'm going to write a note. Maybe before our breath breaks, I'll do a tap reminder for everybody.
Oh,
Tap.
awesome.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool because
Yeah. There's
I forget.
actually,
I think it may have been Jennifer that said it. Like she had intended to do this and forgets, and
mhm,
I was the same way. I heard about it years ago. I thought it sounded crazy.
mhm.
I think I saw a YouTube video and want to do it, but I just haven't kept up with it. I really think I'm going to now though because you're
Yay. Oh,
so
that makes me
convincing.
so happy.
Oh wait, I missed this one. What a gift you are offering. Thank you from Chris.
Oh, you're
For
welcome.
sure. That is awesome. Thanks so much. I'm so excited to see how this can impact my headaches and chronic pain. Whoa, I really struggle with sleeping. Cannot wait to apply this. And this has been fascinating. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
I will just say this because I think it's important. If you are someone that has that knowingly has some big trauma, I would recommend working with a practitioner because you don't know what you don't know when you're
Yeah.
getting into this stuff, and it can be it's very helpful to have somebody to guide you through the
Yeah.
practice. And I don't want anybody to, you
It's
know,
not a substitute.
mhm,
It's a nice addition to, but not a substitute for sure.
yeah.
Thank you. You present this beautifully, doesn't she?
Oh,
She
thank
does.
you.
We are so blessed to have had you here. Thank you, Lauren and Lauren. And one final question. And I think I already asked you, but I just want to confirm. So it's always the same.
Same points.
You don't defer from that. So it's really just a matter like after the first couple times, you probably remember and it probably you don't even think of it anymore.
Yeah, once you get used to it. Now, I will say this, there are additional points on the body, just like how if you go to acupuncture, they'll put needles in all over. These points are all over the body, but part of the regular protocol are these main points that we
Okay.
use. Mhm.
This has been fascinating. I thank you, Lauren, for being here. Thank you so much. This is very interesting. I knew you guys would love this.
Yay.
So I hope you guys who wants to win a book. Hopefully you haven't won the book yet. Let's see if it works better than it did last week. As last week it was a bit of a hot mess. Okay, here we go. This is for the not yet released copy of 52 Week Intention Journal. Good luck, everybody. Karen, I don't think you won one yet, Karen. Congratulations. If you did win one, I'll get you something else. But congratulations, Karen. I will get that in the mail to you ASAP. Congrats. Last week, it was such a hot mess. I kept pulling. Sandy Montgomery kept winning over and over and over the same thing. And yeah, it was a hot mess. But the good news is I did not boot myself out of my own broadcast this week.
Yay.
Not yet, anyway. So anyway, Lauren, thank you so much for being here. I am so grateful that you contacted me and that we talked. I don't know if you remember our initial meeting when I was a little bit hesitant.
Yep.
It took you a whopping like 3 minutes to talk where I'm like, okay, what did I say? I'm sold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said I'm sold. I knew it was going to be great. So thank you again. If you'd like to reach Lauren, please take advantage of everything that she has to offer. So laurenfonville.com, it looks like Fonvielle, or
Mhm.
mindshiftwithlauren.com. And under there, the master class is right there. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, and if anyone wants that free consultation, I should have told you before. I didn't tell you. It's talkwithlauren.com is my calendar to set up that call.
Talkwithlauren.com. Great. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. You've been,
thank you.
I told you it was going to be like for some people, you were for me. So I know that you affected a lot of people.
Awesome.
Gang, the episode is what it is. We love the people that watch the recording, but the live viewers that take part in it really make it special. So thank you for being here and contributing. And I will see you all next week. Peace and love.
Thank
See if
you.
I can do the closing tonight without ruining it. Thanks, Lauren. See you soon.
Bye. Thanks so much.